Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jordy, your instructor, and welcome to this Premiere Pro course for advanced users. In this video lesson, I'm going to show you almost everything from my previous course, which was for beginners, but now together in one video. Now, because it's pretty much basic stuff, I want to focus on the workflow in particular. And I'm going to show you guys a nice visual technique for editing an interview. So, there are 6 steps you may never forget when editing a video. The first step is, of course, starting your project. I'm going to open up Premiere Pro CS6. That gives me this welcome screen, and I click on a new project. I give my project a name, for example, Premiere Course. Press OK. Now I'm going to select a 720p DSLR sequence. And in the settings, I'm going to change it to 25 frames per second, because that is what my original footage is. And I'm going to name my sequence Apple event, because I have some footage of an interview on an event in Belgium about Apple products and technology. And we're going to make a cool video reportage about it. Welcome inside Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. I'm so excited. No, seriously, I'm really excited. Alright, we're still setting up our project. We need some footage now, and I'm just going to drag and drop my rushes and audio folder into the project window. And when I look into the folders, we can see some video files and a music track. This music track, by the way, guys, is downloaded from cs6, and here is the website. You can find and download many songs on it for free. Some songs even provide each track separately. For example, if you like the piano in a song, but you want to leave out the vocals and the guitar, well, then you can just download that piano track. And there's also an option to search for songs that are free for commercial use. So if you have a business and your customers don't like to pay for their music, well, then this is the place to go to. Alright, back to Premiere. I've already done my organizing by sorting everything in folders, but if you're dragging files from all kinds of places, which you better don't, then you must organize your files in Premiere at least. You can choose an organization structure that suits you the best. I'm going to create a full structure now that I use, and I also recommend. So first of all, we've got audio. Inside that folder, we'll create another folder named Music. And we'll put all our music in there. Next, we're going to create a second subfolder named SFX, Sound Effects. And we'll put all our sound effects in it. Then we have our folder Rushes. In here, we can also work with subfolders. For example, a subfolder for each scene if you want. Or for a reportage, we can put all the interviews in a subfolder named Interviews. This is really important that you do this. You will save a lot of time afterwards. And finally, we have the folder Assets. And here goes all the rest. We make again subfolders for logos or Photoshop files. Mainly images goes inside the Assets folder. Alright, that was step 1. You are now ready to start editing, and that's step 2. You need to have an idea somehow, how your edit is going to be like. So let's take a look at the footage I have. Clip 1 is a slide over some iPad bags, and clip 2 is again a slide from another angle. Clip 3 is a long shot of the hostess walking around on the event, and we can see that she is also passing the iPad bag stand. And finally, we've got the interview itself. So I'm thinking about first a little intro about the girl walking towards the iPad bags, then the interview, and finally an ending image. So first we're going to start with dragging my music to the timeline on audio track 2, so that we can edit on the beat. And then I'm going to take a piece from the third clip, where she is walking through the Apple event, set an in point, go a little further and set an out point. We've selected a piece now, and we'll drag the video layer onto the timeline. When zooming in on my timeline, I can see there's a silent piece in the music in the beginning. I'm going to remove that with an extend edit. and move the audio clips to the beginning. Now we're going to listen to the beat, but make sure you don't drop the beat. Okay, that just wasn't funny at all. Sorry for that. Okay, this is the beat that we need. And we'll cut our video in here with the razor blade tool, shortcut C. Then take the slip tool by pressing Y and slip the endpoint of the second clip further away. Make sure there's enough difference in the image when you're making a jump cut. While slipping, the top canvas inside the program monitor shows the ending frame of the first clip, and here she's almost walking in the middle, and that is some more difference. Now bring back the beat, and this here is the second beat. We're going to cut again. Then take the slip tool and do the same. Watch it to check if the jump cut was big enough. If not, then it doesn't feel natural. Then it looks like we've done that jump cut by accident. On to the third beat. Cut it. And slip it. And we can see some cool motion to have something different, so that cutting is not getting predictable. That is something you need to keep in mind all the time. Let's go to beat number 4. Again, cut it and slip it. And as you can see, she is doing something with her fingers here. This is again something to surprise the viewer, so that it doesn't get predictable. Instead of walking all the time, here she does something with her finger. And it's somehow an interaction with your audience. It's very good to have something like that in a reportage. Okay, beat number 5 now. Cut and slip. And now in the next beat, we have something triggering in the music. Listen to it. Suddenly a guitar comes in, and we cannot ignore this. A trigger in the music should also be a trigger in the video. So the reportage is about the iPad bags, so let's trigger something about that. And I remember that a girl also walked through the iPad bag stand. So I'm going to cut my clip onto the beat and slip. Keep slipping until you see that point where she passes that stand. Here we are. She takes one of those bags and throws a kiss to the camera. Now that's a perfect trigger. She introduces the stand and makes an interaction with the viewer. Now make sure you slip the highest interest point on the guitar trigger. In this case, the kiss of her is the highest interest point. And look at that, a perfect match. Now guys, what we've just done is talking or communicating in a whole new language, the video editing language. And that's the key of keys when it comes to video editing. You have a message and you need to bring that message to your audience. I could have done the exact same edit here, but with different slip positions, and my message would be totally different. And I'm saying it again because this is so important. Never make editing predictable. Always show something new to your audience, even though you're editing in a rhythm. Alright, the interview now. I'm first going to cut off the last piece of the clip. Don't mind the beat anymore, because we'll be fading to the interview now. So just cut at the point where she lays the iPad back down. Now take the interview and mark the piece that you want with an in and an out point. And drag it to your timeline. The first thing we want to do is shut off the music layer, so that we can hear the interview. They are speaking in a Dutch language, but that really doesn't matter. It's just an example. And we're going to cut out the long ums. So he's thinking and saying Of course, we're not going to cut out each but when it takes long, it might get annoying to watch. And here in the beginning, we can see that they are overlapping each other. And they are just saying weird things. So we're going to cut that out. In the first line, she introduces herself. She says, "Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm the Apple girl." Isn't that cute? Alright, so next is the struggling, which we'll cut out with the razor blade.
En ja. Ja.
Select the piece and press Shift plus Delete to delete and clear the empty gap. Then the interview starts, and I cannot really find any annoying so I'm just going to cut out any as an example. Normally you have a longer interview.
Dit zijn allemaal producten gemaakt uit ja. Ja.
Alright, the interview has been cut. We have the quote that we need and all the annoying things have been cut out. Now finally, I'm going to take a look back at the clip where the girl was walking. And let's look for something to end with. We need again something that tells a story. So we have just done an interview. Maybe we need some impression of loosen everything. You know, the hard work is done, the guy said something funny, now we can loosen up and laugh. Here is something funny. She's laughing and looking behind her. Now look good at the impression that she gives. At the moment when we were recording this, that impression of her had nothing to do with the interview. But when I take that piece and put it behind the interview, it will tell something more about the interview. When I look at this, it seems like she's happy that the awful interview is finally done, and she's thinking in herself, wow, what was that all about? So be careful with that. If that's the wrong impression, don't use it. But for this example, let's assume that this is the impression or emotion that I want to give to my audience. Okay, we have some jumpers in our interview. A lot of YouTube videos have that, but for a professional editor, this is something you should never do. Find some footage to overlap the interview. And for that, I have clip 1 and clip 2. So I'm going to select a piece from clip 1 and drag the video layer on top of my cutting point. Now, we shouldn't cut away that fast in the introduction of the interview. So I'm going to move the clip more to the right. And we're going to do the same on the second cutting point. Again, we have a small final word, so I'm going to move the clip more to the left. Alright, this is the rough edit. We are now ready for step 3, which is fine-tuning your edit. We're going to check if the intro is good. Looks fine to me. If necessary, then adjust your editing here. When the interview starts here, we're going to overlap it a little bit with the intro so that everything goes smooth. So I'm going to lift the last clip of the intro onto video track 2. I'm going to lock my music track and then take the track select tool with the shortcut A, hold down my shift key and drag all the layers a little bit beneath that clip. And now unlock my music track again. Okay, this looks good. With fine-tuning also comes visual effects. And let's do that on everything except the interview. By doing that, we divide those two. And that brings your audience from a kind of fiction film to a reality world. And that's again talking in the language of editing. So I'm going to show you what I mean on the first clip. I'm going to add a crop effect on it. Go to the effects control, search for crop, and drag it to the clip. Now head over to your effects control, and we're going to crop the bottom and the top. Let's say 20% for both. Next, we're going to add a fast color corrector on it. And I'm going to use the saturation of that effect to bring it all down so that we have a black and white image. Now, this is a simple technique to make something look very cinematic, and this is the fiction feeling that we want to bring to our audience. Okay, I'm going back in my history now, and we're going to do all of that again. So I'm going to create a new adjustment layer in my project panel. Drag the adjustment layer on top of all my clips where I want the effect on. And now apply my crop effect on that adjustment layer. Go to Effects Controls and change the value to 20% on the top and the bottom. And now I go back to my effects window and apply the fast color corrector to my adjustment layer. Then go to Effects Controls and change the saturation of the effect to 0. And also increase the midtones a little bit and put it in a more contrast. Something like this. Now let's take a look at the crop effect. For example, this clip where she is doing something with her fingers is not clear. That's because it's outside the crop. But in fact, beneath our adjustment layer, we still have the original clip. So I'm going to move that clip a little bit down. I choose Motion for that clip and take the position down. Same thing for the last clip. As you can see, her head is almost out the frame. So again, go to Motion and bring the position down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to copy the adjustment layer, deselect video track 1 and select video track 3. Now I'm going to move to the final clip and paste the adjustment layer. Now we also have that effect applied on here. I'm going to make the adjustment layer the same size as the clip. And I'm also going to do that with the music track. Just take the blade tool and cut off the rest of all the music. One last thing we have to do in fine-tuning is fixing this hard cut over here between the fiction and the reality of the interview. We're going from a cropped image to a normal frame size, and that's a bit harsh. So I'm going to create a little animation. Select the adjustment layer and create keyframes for the top and bottom crop. Then go to the end of the adjustment layer with the arrow key and change the value to 0 for both. We have created a keyframe one frame outside the clip, and that's why we don't see it. But it's there, no worries. Now, if we play this video, you can see that something is going wrong here on the top. To fix that, we are also going to animate the position back to default. So line up with the first keyframe of the crop effect, then select your clip, and create a keyframe for the position. Press the arrow down key to go to the end of the clip and change the value of the position to 360. That was the default value. And if we now play it, everything will look normal. Remember, we need to do the same on the end or we'll have a hard cutting there. Select the second adjustment layer, a little further in time. Create a keyframe for the crop effect. Now press the arrow up key to go to the beginning of your clip and change the values to 0 for both. Now this looks all good and well, but it's still a hard cut, and that's because of the color. So we'll also animate the saturation. Select the adjustment layer, place your time ruler on the ending keyframes, go to the saturation and create a keyframe. Then go to the end of the clip and change the value to 100% to give it a full color. And now we'll do the same for the other adjustment layer. Create a keyframe for the saturation, then line up with the other keyframes and change the value to 100%. Alright guys, our editing is completely done now. The next step, number 4, is color correction. And you might think that you not always need color correction, but in fact you do. There will always be a shot where your white balance was different than the other shots, or some low light situation. So color correction actually means that we're going to check each clip if it's okay. Maybe add some look and feel to it, and then match the other clips to it. That second thing is very important, matching your clips. But because this is a lesson about the workflow, I'm just going to do it quick on an adjustment layer. I've got a full chapter in this course that will cover color correction in full detail. So let's add an adjustment layer, drag it the same size, then search for the three-way color corrector in your effects window. So for this shot, let's give it some more contrast. Increase the black input and the white input, and also some overall lighting with the midtones. Finally, we'll use the pickers for each level to balance the colors more natural. Shadows, midtones, and highlights. Let's also increase the saturation a little bit. Look at the red colors when you do that. That will be the color that is blown out first. Alright, I'm satisfied with this color correction. Let's head over to step number 5 now, which is the audio mix. Also very important. Not only the balance between two audio tracks, but also the output level. Make sure everything is set to the same decibels value. So let's start with that. I'm going to look at my meters and bring everything to -6 decibels. Since we have only one interview on track 1 and one music clip on track 2, I can use the audio mixer for that. Make sure you shut off audio track 2 for a moment. Look at the meters and bring it to around -6 decibels.
En ik ben hier even aan kijken. Je hebt hier een heel leuk standje. Wat houdt het hierin?
Dit zijn allemaal...
Alright, that looks good. Now shut off track 1 and enable track 2, and we'll do the same. Okay, so we had to lower the volume with 6 decibels. That means -6 input level is our maximum. Place the ruler at the beginning of the timeline and make sure both audio tracks are enabled. Then change audio track 2 so that it will write our mix. And now just play our video and move the slider.
Goeiedag, ik ben Kim, hier het appelmeisje. En ik ben hier even aan kijken. Je hebt hier een heel leuk standje. Wat houdt het hierin?
Dit zijn allemaal Mac-accessoires natuurlijk, want vandaag is hier een Mac-beurs. Dit zijn allemaal producten gemaakt uit oude vlakken. Dus die materialen hebben wij gekregen van Stad Hassen.
And we're done. Now there is only one thing to do, and that is exporting your video. The final step. Number 6. Before you export your video, it's always good to get a second opinion from someone. When everything is the way you want it and you're sure that your video is complete, then you're ready to export. File, Export, Media. I'm going to choose the H264 codec, and let's take a preset, scrolling down all the way, for the Vimeo HD 720p at 25 frames per second preset. And now just hit export. I have added a PDF file which you can download below, where I have written down all these steps, and you might want to print it out and hang it to the wall next to your computer. In the next lesson, I'm going to talk about video formats and codecs, in particular how they actually work. Thank you for watching.